Batman, One Bad Day, Two-Face issue 1, Mariko Tamaki writing with Javier Fernandez on the art. So, I want to also, first of all, before I even mention the contents of the book, I want to say that they scared me into thinking it was like an extra 15 pages longer than the last one because there's the preview of that Batman and Joker book at the end.
That's Sylvester, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh god, this is 75 pages. What the hell? And then I got to like the ending and went, oh, and then as obviously because I read this first, and then obviously I realized afterwards it was in every book, but like, yeah, I was like, oh god damn it.
Yeah. It also read quicker than the Riddler one, just because I think Tamaki's style is different than King.
Oh yeah, like it wasn't as dense. Certainly.
This definitely felt like more like a traditional Bat story.
This felt like basically the page count is the same as 3 comics, so it was like a 3-issue mini, just kind of like written as one big story, which is fine. I will say the premise of this sort of series of one shots. I think after the last issue with Tom King's book, I thought it was going to all of them were going to like sort of like be something that caused Batman to eventually maybe kill someone. Clearly that's not the case. He's just had a shitty day here.
Yeah. So this is actually a bad day for Batman.
Yes.
And that's one. But I do like it because Two-Face is my favorite Bat villain. I'm not counting Ivy because she's on the Harley line now and the Selena line. That she's not really bad guy. She's not fully good.
There is an Ivy issue coming though, isn't there?
Yeah. So when it comes to Two-Face, I love the dynamic of Harvey versus Two-Face, right? And that Harvey Dent was a friend of Batman's, and and Gordon, and so Bruce always has an issue that Harvey might be in there still, and so it's different from the Joker or from Scarecrow or whatever. Is that this is his friend, and how far can his friend push him, is what I kind of liked here.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this as well is that unlike the other one, this actually could just be in continuity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, unless any of the Two-Face stuff gets retconned later, but obviously, early on, there's a reference in the flashback scene to Officer Nakano, which is obviously a young Mayor Nakano, who then is mentioned again later when we go to present day. It references a couple of things from Tamaki's run. Even some of the characters Tamaki throws in here, are very much, it's the present day Stephanie Brown, it's the present day, Babs and Cass. Yeah, like, we get all these like sort of ties, and it's like, oh, this literally could just be like an extra little extension onto her run. And just,
under Tech, it almost feels like that, because that last Riddler story Tamaki did was what, three issues, right?
I think it was more, but that was the one that was co-written. Like someone else was scripting, so it was a bit wordier than her writing usually was.
So I wonder, in another world where we don't get a one shot, type thing, if this was just the next arc.
Possibly, yeah.
And Tamaki adapted it.
I'd almost say that if when they eventually maybe do an omnibus of her run, I would almost say throw this on at the end, like include this. This is kind of just part of the next part of it.
Yeah, and again, it's everything that we've already said about Tamaki. That Tamaki has the voices down for these characters. Like Steph sounds like Steph. Cass sounds like Cass. Bruce, she can write for Bruce really well. So, but seeing the Two-Face, I really liked. This is, I think, the first time we've encountered Tamaki's Two-Face, and for me, I always look to see if I like the idea that sometimes Two-Face is in control and sometimes Harvey's in control. So how they word things is different. And I really feel Tamaki nailed that in this.
Yeah. Well, this book's toying with the idea, is that even a thing, or is it, is it really two personalities, or is it just one person, and like it's all kind of a ruse or whatever? Obviously, there's a flashback scene where Two-Face is like dangling a kid off the edge of a building, but the main plot of the book is that Harvey is like kind of rehabilitated. He's acting normal. Nakano's going to make him DA. But he contacts Batman because he's worried, because his father, who's turning 88, he's having a 88th birthday party, and he's retiring, and he's going to make a big speech and all that stuff. Someone sent a letter, like an old school ransom letter with all the cut out letters, saying that his father's not safe, basically. And Batman agrees to look into it and find out who's doing this. Now, I do think it is a bit predictable in that I immediately went, this is Two-Face. This is Two-Face who sent this letter. Even if we're assuming Harvey and Two-Face are two distinct personalities, and maybe Harvey doesn't know that he's actually it's Two-Face, but immediately I went, this is Two-Face. And that's why when Batman looks into everything, he can't find any evidence of anyone else or anything going on.
Right, and that's what I like though too, is that Bruce looks and he's like, there's no ties to anybody, which I like that kind of befuddles him because he wants to trust Harvey, you know. So it's almost in his blind spot.
Yeah. So, and it's, Steph actually comes to see Batman and says, "Hey, we're kind of doing this weird favor for Harvey Dent, and like, can we remember who he is?" And obviously, it's presenting this idea that Batman always wants to give Harvey a chance because he was friends with him, and that's kind of this sort of conflicting part of this relationship for him. But obviously, the art from Fernandez is very good. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of moody stuff. At the start when Two-Face is on the rooftop and dangling the kid. There's a lot of stuff where you see like the scarred side of his face from surrounded by shadow or stuff like that. It's all.
There's the one page where you turn the page and it really focuses on that side of Two-Face, and it's very ghastly in the best way, very body horror. So yeah, props to Fernandez. I remember the first time I read Fernandez's or saw his art was in Nightwing. So he does Gotham really, really well. Oh god, that was years ago. But yeah.
In terms of continuity, it references Montoya's past with Two-Face, and I think it even mentions No Man's Land and with Gordon early on. Talks about that.
Which I gotta read No Man's Land. It's been years, but he talks about Harvey put him on trial during that time, and it was Harvey making the decision, not Two-Face. So that's why Gordon trusts Harvey. So that was another aspect that I liked of it.
Yeah, I will say this isn't specific to this book, and this goes into Tamaki's run, it goes into other Bat books right now, but I love that, this is like just the horror of the New 52 sort of speaking through me here, but I am so glad that we're willing to remember all of Bat continuity again and talk about all these big things that have happened in the last like 30 years in Batman, because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of good history with a lot of these characters, and it's nice that it can be referenced again and used to like help drive motivations and stories. So I actually really love the page where it's Steph and Batman talking on the roof. There's just something about the purple of her costume popping.
Yeah, and the way that the city's lit in the background too.
Yeah,
it looks pretty cool because it's dark but it's light at the same time. So it's also playing with that duality.
Yeah, and you even get in Power Rangers rules here when we see there's like a quick little flashback of Steph seeing like adult Batman beat someone up. And she's wearing a purple t-shirt because, like the Power Rangers, she has to always be wearing her color.
Yeah.
Just so we know it's her.
And that person is her dad, Cluemaster.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's why it's referencing that. That's why she has a distrust of helping like someone who's a villain because her father was this villain. So but it brings up this conflict, and I think we do get a scene with Harvey going to see his father and seeing that strange relationship and how he's trying to be this good son to him, which is all just there so that when Harvey does flip and he's like, no, this is Two-Face has made this plan to kill his father the whole time. You feel the weight of it a bit more because it's given you a glimpse. Because I don't think Harvey's relationship with his father is something that I've seen before, or if I have, it's been so long that I don't remember it.
Yeah, and even as a Two-Face fan, I didn't realize he was a junior. This is Harvey Dent Sr., and I didn't realize that. And again, it plays off of that whole, it plays with the duality that there's two of them. There's Harvey Sr., Harvey Jr. His lot was kind of cast from the beginning. And he's got a new younger wife, and stuff. But as I'm looking at the art again, is it just me or does Fernandez's Harvey look a lot like Aaron Eckhart?
I think it's the hair that's making you think that. Yeah. He's got a very Aaron Eckhart haircut. Yeah. That's Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I remember that just came through. You got to a page, I was like, oh my god, he looks like the Nolan verse for that second.
But the setup of the issue is fun because it's all building up to this birthday party, and you have like Batman with Steph, Cass, and other Bat family members kind of like at or around or in the party. So there's kind of this like build up to like something's going to go down and we don't quite know what. So there's a good bit of suspense and build up and tension to it. Cass is on the inside wearing a dress as a guest, and Batman's outside the perimeter. Steph's like posing as one of the employees in the hotel the party's taking place, and but it comes up and we get this sort of this plot where all the balloons are filled with gas and the cake's poisoned, and the cake specifically makes his face kind of start to melt on like one side, just like Harvey. Which is very cool. Actually, a lot of this made me think of the Arkham Tower stuff a little bit, just in the idea that we have all these characters in place build up to this thing. Obviously it's a much smaller compressed version, but
but it's definitely the Bat team instead of just Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
So,
It was a great big full page. Actually, I love the panel of when you first see Cass in outfit. She's just kicking a dude. She looks great. But, there's a great panel of Batman coming through the skylight with all the balloons that say 88 are releasing from the windows to safety. There's a great big full page spread of Batman surrounded by all these golden balloons coming down. It's a very classic Batman entrance, but all the balloons with the gold make it pop, and just in a very different way to normal.
Yeah. Well, and the color behind it of the skylight is green too. It's not just that clear blue that we're used to seeing. So the contrast in the colors.
Yeah, which actually, speaking of the colors, we immediately shift to like Two-Face stalking his father in the hallways, and it's all like this, like, it's a horror movie. It's all bathed in red and dark and black, and so it's really good stuff. And then obviously once his face starts like bubbling and like melting, it's like, oh shit, this is proper horror movie stuff. And to be fair, what did I like from the get-go of Tamaki's detective run? It was the horror movie vibes that a lot of it was giving me. So you know?
With the bug guy.
Yeah, the monsters and all that stuff. So no, I thought it was super fun. I think obviously I don't think it's as momentous and amazing as the Tom King issue, but I think what I love about this is that it is so different. I think if we got an issue that was trying to be as serious as the Tom King issue, it would have like hurt whatever the issue was, because we're like, oh, this is too similar. I think that this, you know, like a good wrestling show, you have a very different genre or style of match as your second match, because it'll, you know, to make it feel distinct and different. So you don't really compare them the same way because it's pointless, but it's good that it feels different to the first one. So I hope that they effectively bounce around tones and types of Batman story throughout these one-shots.
Yeah, I like that this just was a really good Two-Face story, right? Like, it just... And I hope that's what these end up doing, is they kind of spotlight what makes the character work. Actually,
the one thing that I would compare between this and the Tom King issue is that they both elevated their villain. Like, I think this elevated too. Like, this was a really dastardly personal thing for Two-Face to do, was to pretend to be okay for some time, only to turn around and be a plot where he's been plotting to kill his father. It feels really vicious, and Riddler was elevated into this ultra like killer in like Tom King's issue. So if we get that in each of these issues where each villain is like elevated to like a higher status, that's awesome. That's great, you know.
I'm really excited about the Clayface one now, to see what they do with that, because Clayface is another favorite that, you know, through the Tynan detective run, you know, I just wonder what that one bad day is gonna be like. So, but you know, I like this. And then, you know, we get to the end that, you know, Harvey is Two-Face and Two-Face is Harvey. They're, you know, it's...
And it kind of gets to this idea that Two-Face mocks Batman at the end when he comes to see him in the cell, where he talks about how, you know, my father wanted to believe that Harvey could still exist, and you want to believe he could still exist. And that's kind of the darkness of Two-Face, is that he represents that there's that, like, you hope a little bit, but you're always disappointed when Two-Face is the one that comes around. So that's kind of part of the beauty of the character in a weird way, and what makes him stand out against other villains. So no, it's really neat stuff. So you end with Steph and Batman talking about it, or talking about him over the gravestone, and you know, so it's just a nice little ending to the whole story. And as with a lot of Two-Face stories, it ends with him tossing the coin.
And we don't see what it lands on, which I do like. Like, that's a nice. It's just him snatching it from the air.
And it's kind of representative of the story as a whole, right? Is that we see these two personalities, but the story's kind of implying, nah, that's not really true. So the idea at the end, we don't see what the coin lands on, because there is no one side. Like, there's no two sides. It's just one thing.
Right. He makes us look, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's not to say that I want that interpretation to always be Two-Face, but I think this issue does a good job of making it this interpretation of Two-Face.
This interpretation of Two-Face, they're one and the same, so the coin flip's just a show.
Yeah,
you know,
because I love like Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum. I love that there's that like humanity from Two-Face by the end. You know, I love when stories do that with Two-Face, but for this interpretation of Two-Face, I really dug what Tamaki set out to do with it. Kind of made this tragedy of like, you always want to hope that Harvey's still in there, but the sad truth is he probably isn't, and that's
right.
Yeah, so
I mean, depending on how many times they redo his face, right? Like, he only has so many constructive surgeries before a man can snap.
To be fair, he's not constructed here. He's just walking around with a burned half face.
Yeah. But I'm just saying. So, like, even in the Ram B Tech stuff right now, he's walking around with that mask on in the last issue. You know, kind of rehabbed. So, But yeah, no, this is really really good stuff.
Yeah, I guess that means this isn't continuity, but like you could take it as continuity to her detective run and just sort of roll with it there. So
yeah. So
comics be comics. Don't worry about it.
yeah, comics will be comics. It doesn't have to all fit neatly. But this is a very nice interpretation and breakdown of Two-Face's character. And I mean, because you also have him running around right now. Like as a Two-Face fan, I'm very happy because he's running around in Task Force Z, doing stuff in there. And we got this.
That's really, true. Yeah, a lot of Two-Face. So right now,
after him not being around for a while. So, but yeah, I really did like that was the strength of the issue for me was the whole Bruce wants to trust Harvey, and what I like at the end is they mimic each other with their sentences where Batman's driving away and goes Harvey and Two-Face, my friend and my enemy, and then Two-Face just goes Batman. My friend and my enemy.
The whole thing is Batman's questioning himself as he's investigating things like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I hope it's Harvey, but I know there's a chance it's just Two-Face. And Steph warns him of that, and then it turns out to be the sad truth. Right. And so it's kind of like a inevitable tragedy we all see coming, and that's kind of the point. And that's why it doesn't matter that you can guess that it's Two-Face right from the start, because the whole sad part of it is that deep down Batman probably knows it is, and he's hoping to find a culprit, so it's not Two-Face. He's hoping to find the Joker. He wants to be
justified. He wants his trust to be justified, and it just won't be because it's Two-Face.
Yeah,
it's the whole story of the frog and the scorpion, right? It's just his nature at this point.
So yeah, it's not a 10 out of 10 that the Riddler issue was, but what are you rating Two-Face?
I'm gonna give this one a 9. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I agree with the 9. I think it was another excellent one shot, and if they can keep up to this standard, like we'll be in a very happy place with these. But yeah, so very very good stuff. Art's fantastic. The story's great. Some great character dynamics to talk about, and I think both issues have elevated their villains and their story. You won't like these versions of the villains. Maybe you don't want a serial killer Riddler, and you don't want a Two-Face that doesn't have the duality. But I think these are both done really good jobs telling these stories.